In the next episode of Star vs. the Forces of Evil for us to talk about, nothing was accomplished at all. Or at least, I hope that nothing was accomplished. And I know that sounds like a strange thing to say, because I'm a human being. I love to waste my own time, but I hate to have it wasted by someone else. And yet, I still hope, beyond any semblance of reason, that this episode did not actually accomplish what it pretended to accomplish. In this episode, Ponyhead commits borderline treason, faking a kidnapping of Eclipsa so that she can live tweet the investigation in order to dredge up sympathy for Eclipsa among the people of Muni. And yeah, it turns out that Eclipsa was fine. She wasn't harmed by anything that Pony did, but holy crap, is this a new low for her. And at the same time, I think this is a new low for Star, too. Because Star, throughout this entire thing, thought that the threat to Eclipsa was entirely real. And she also knew that Pony was live tweeting every ounce of progress they made towards finding Eclipsa, essentially giving her would-be kidnappers a heads up every time they got close. Assuming that this situation was real, Star should have either put a stop to that or kicked Pony to the curb, and she didn't. Finally, we have confirmation of the true destructive potential of Star's friendship with Pony. It has to end at this point, or Pony has to change as a person. There's no two ways about it anymore. I'm just going to keep getting more and more frustrated with the story if one of those things doesn't happen. Not only that, but Pony's plan seems to work. By the end of this episode, the people of Muni seem to like Eclipsa. Good job. Storyline over, apparently. Except no. Screw that. Unless the writers are just completely copping out on this whole Eclipsa as a bad queen plot, and I know they're not, and I'll talk about that in a second, then this episode accomplished nothing, because the issue was never that the people didn't feel like they had a reason to like Eclipsa. It's that they didn't have any reason to feel that Eclipsa cared about them. They feel that she only cares about monsters because that's what her behavior has been reflecting. So the moment that she goes back to not being transparent with them, not explaining things to them, not helping them through this transitional period, they're going to go back to hating her. And I know that the writers are aware of this because I know that she hasn't addressed her people again since the last Ponyhead show episode. One of the guys, one of the first people, the first humans to hear that Eclipsa was missing, didn't even know who she was. That's how much her whole reign is lacking in transparency with the people. So obviously this is not meant to resolve this plotline, so what was the point of it? At best, it sets Star and Eclipsa's attempt at finding a way to ingratiate Eclipsa to the people back by possibly a lot. Like, sure, that's a great way to keep this plotline going longer than some of us might have expected that they would keep it going, but that's not exactly a good thing, is it? Because, frankly, I'm starting to get what some of you guys are saying, that this season is kind of boring. They've been stringing us along with this plotline for the entire season so far, and nothing has come of it, despite the fact that there are things, very obvious things, that the principal characters could be doing to change things. We could be seeing those things happening in stages as the episodes go on. But we're not. They just keep showing us over and over again that Eclipsa is not liked. Everyone knows that, but seemingly they're not doing anything to fix it. But even if I was convinced that Pony's solution would work long term, I would still think that this was a terrible way of going about it. If Eclipsa wants to be a good queen, she needs to be a good queen. And I've talked enough about how I think she could best go about that. I'm not going to get into that again in this video. I just don't want to at this point. I don't want to reiterate those points again. I've already talked about them so many times, it's starting to become exhausting. This season is starting to become exhausting. This show built up a lot of goodwill in season 2 and especially in season 3. Enough that I've been easier on some of the worst episodes and I've been quick to praise some of the better episodes of this season so far. Like, yeah, if an episode is genuinely bad in my opinion, I'm still going to call it out. But I have still been expecting this season to go somewhere pretty great with these stories that it's been setting up. Stories which have a ton of potential to them. But I gotta say, I'm having to dip down further and further each time to find more of that goodwill to slather onto these reviews. I feel like I'm being strung along. I feel like nothing is actually happening. And even if something happens along the line, to recontextualize things and make it clear that things were happening during these episodes where it feels like nothing's really being accomplished, it's not going to matter anymore because those episodes were still boring. This episode, aside from being kind of infuriating by the end when the twist was revealed, was just kind of a boring episode. Pony and Jennah were both there throughout the entire thing, and they just weren't interesting or funny. Like, I didn't even mention yet, up to this point, that Jennah was here. Why would I ever do that? Oh yeah, because she didn't do anything fun in this episode at all. Between all of this, between feeling like I'm being strung along, between feeling like nothing is actually going anywhere in the narrative, and the absolutely exhausting release schedule of these episodes, I'm starting to get burnt out on this show. And that's not a good thing. If you guys recall, by the end of season 3, this was probably my favorite cartoon on the air. And that's starting to change. And it's really bumming me out. I'm still trying really hard to remain positive. I haven't watched the next couple of episodes yet. Hopefully they will change my mind. But as of right now, I'm starting to see where you guys are coming from when you say that you find this season disappointing. Like I said before, it really hit home for me when Star's, I don't know, enabling of Pony's behavior reached a point where I couldn't justify it to myself anymore. Something has got to give. One of these storylines has to take something of a leap forward and actually go somewhere new, or I might not actually finish reviewing this season until it's already completely over and I can know where it's going and whether it's worth it. That said, though, of course, as usual, I'd like to know, what do you guys think of Queen Napped, if you have seen it? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, and more so than ever before, if you guys were not disappointed by this episode, or even if you weren't as disappointed by it as I was, please help me to see why. I really need some positivity about this show right now. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys